Hey everybody, Randall Houston here, and this is my mini review of the Flying 3D X8 quadcopter. It's basically a 350 size quad. I believe it has the Emax 2213 910 kV motors. Anyways, that's what it looks like. It doesn't normally come with these props, but as is the case with most of these quads in this class, I am using the Wakira Pro 9-inch props that give exceptional performance and increased flight times. The supplied battery is a 2200 milliamp 3S LiPo. The quad has GPS, and normally the ones from Banggood have brass inserts and a plug-in set up in the front for a gimbal, but I must have gotten one of the very early versions that came out before this, but never mind, that's not a big deal. It's not a deal killer. I really didn't much care for the plug-ins being in front of the gimbal anyway. So anyways, I bought this to do some FPV with, but I'm going to do some flight testing beforehand. The transmitter is really kind of a neat little transmitter. It has telemetry, and it gives your GPS coordinates, battery strength, distance away, distance flown. One thing I wish it did have that it doesn't, it does not have any expo. There is no switch so I could take pictures from it, but you can tilt and roll a gimbal if you put servo leads on it. Not a big deal. I mean, I bought this more just to play around with and fly than anything. It weighs about the same as most 350 size quads. It appears to be loosely based on the Apollo quadcopter from, who was it that made the Apollo? Ideafly. Anyways, it has return to home. It has what they call AOC, which most people call IOC. The Blade 350 calls it Smart Mode. It does return to home, GPS lock. Does not appear to do any aerobatics, which that's fine. I don't really want to do aerobatics anyway. So, anyways, without further ado, we're going to fly this. And I just did a little flying the other night and haven't really had a chance to do much of anything with this. And normally they come out with Dean's plugs. I put XT60s in mine. I like XT60 battery plugs. Okay. Now, one nice thing about this radio is that it will tell you the top left is the altitude, top right is voltage set in about 12.4 volts, and bottom left I believe is the distance traveled, and bottom right is the speed. And there is longitude and latitude. Okay, we have the GPS now, and I am showing 5 satellites. So, looks like we're ready to go. And I'm going to take off in attitude mode, which is no GPS or anything, just self-leveling. Now, one thing I've noticed about this is kind of like the Blade was. I wouldn't call it twitchy, but it's not real smooth. I mean, it's stable and it flies smooth, and with a little finesse, I think you can make it fly pretty good. That's not bad. It's not as twitchy as the Blade by any means. It'll haul tail. Okay, now it also has an altitude mode, going to altitude. Now it's dropping, and I believe that has like a stick relativity like the blade has. Now supposedly this will hold whatever altitude you set it at. Now of course there's no GPS there, but it does self-level. Now I'm going to go from altitude lock right back into attitude, and watch this. See how it climbs? So you want to be careful with that, and vice versa. Going from attitude to altitude, it will drop some. Okay, now I'm going to go into GPS lock. Okay, there is hands off. It's not bad. Okay, now I'm going to take this forward and I'm going to let go of the sticks. Okay, letting go of the sticks, and it locks in position. That's a very good thing. That was my biggest gripe with the Walkera 350 QX. Or QRX 350, I'm sorry. Because when you let go of the sticks, it would just keep moving until I added the newer firmware. I like the lights on this. It's kind of neat. And it's not nearly as fast in GPS. Ooh, it's kind of a wobbly thing. But it didn't roll over. It's not nearly as quick to respond in GPS, which, that's fine. I don't want it to go like a bat out of hell in GPS mode. Okay, now gonna go to the altitude setting. And we're gonna see how fast it flies in forward motion. Yeah, see, it's a lot faster in the altitude setting. Okay, gonna go to attitude, and I think that's a pretty good, that's a pretty good name for attitude, because it does fly with a little bit of attitude. A little twitchier, a lot more responsive, a lot faster. But it self-levels in all modes. I like that. Okay, gonna go back to altitude mode, and it doesn't seem quite as twitchy in the altitude mode, so it does smooth it out. I like the way this flies, and for 300 bucks it's really a pretty darn good buy, I think. I'm not going to try return to home today. It's pretty breezy. It's getting a little dark, and I'm under these power lines. This is just kind of a get acquainted flight. This is really, for all practical purposes, the maiden, because I've only been able to fly it like maybe 5 minutes before this, even if that. Okay, now I'm going to I'm setting at 11.1 volts, and I've flown, okay, no, it's 6 meters away from me. Okay, so the distance is how far it is away from me, I guess. Still kind of getting used to that. Or maybe that's the farthest it's flown away from me, because I don't see it changing much. Really kind of a neat quadcopter. And it gives pitch and roll numbers plus state, whatever that is. I'm not sure what state means. showing 6 satellites. Okay, I'm at 8 meters altitude. It's kind of different. I originally bought this for FPV, which the on-screen telemetry is not going to mount to a hill of beans for FPV. What's going to matter is how well it flies. And right now I can see that it flies plenty well enough for FPV. Now we'll just have to see what kind of flight duration we're getting, how big a battery I can shoehorn into it. Anyway, it's not bad. Not bad at all. And I can honestly say that I would probably buy this again. I definitely do not regret buying it, not at this stage. It's already a more competent flyer than the Quadcopter QRX 350. And there it is in GPS lock. I'm not going to try IOC. I've never been very impressed with IOC. I mean, really, that's pretty darn good lock. Let's see how many satellites we got here. 7 satellites right now. I've never had less than 6. Boy, that's a darn good lock. That is a darn good lock. Setting at 10.9 volts. Okay, I'm going to land this before it initiates the return to home. Because I don't know if it's going to climb. Really, pretty good. I like it. I really like it.